Oh, it's Sunday morning and it's early, but I'm doing a video. And the video today is all the tools you'll need for a guitar setup. So you're probably interested in guitar setups because you're thinking to yourself, it's a lot cheaper to do it myself, probably than, take guitars out and have someone do it. But it's kind of expensive too because the tools are not cheap. And if you want to do it right, there's a lot of things to consider. I mean, I've amassed a ton of tools over a period of time. I just added up the cost of all my stuff and I'm like, this is way more expensive than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, kind of brought a little tear to my eye, but that's okay. Doing my own setups is a lot of fun, and I enjoyed working on guitars. I actually enjoy working on guitars probably more than playing guitars, and it's a detriment because I do a lot of these demo videos, and sometimes I have to play, and I'm like, wow, that guy's not very good. But I can set up a guitar. I can do that pretty well. Let's get into it. Let's get it right into those items. Okay, starting. Let's start with the whole idea here. We're going to start with one side of the guitar, move down kind of in some sort of a fashion or order, and we'll talk about all the different items I'm going to show you, and then maybe there's some budget options if you want to save a little money. It's been my experience that the higher quality tools you end up spending money on tend to work much better and make your guitar setups a little more precise and a little easier to do. So there's a little bit of that price for function and quality that you will end up paying for. And it's not always fun, but it pays off in the end. So let's get started with some of those items. All right, first thing you're gonna need is a neck call. Now this is a StewMac one and it is like 50 bucks. I like it because it rocks, right? So it depends on the size and shape of the guitar. It can kind of angle itself to how you set the neck on it as it lays across my table or your table. And there's cheaper ones. You can get the ones from Music Nomad. I believe they're like a little bit cheaper than this. This is not necessary as a priority as far as like you must get this high quality one. It will like ruin your life if you don't. In fact, you can use a lot of towels, but you want to make sure that the neck is not going to move, especially when you're trying to set the relief. You want it to be nice and flat and not have any kind of bending or movement when you're measuring, or like, let's say I'm putting tools on top of the neck and I'm trying to measure it. You don't want that neck to move because it's sitting on something that's not like a solid surface. So get a neck call, they're pretty good. All right, measuring tools. You're gonna need a string action gauge. This is an invaluable tool. I would highly suggest you get it. It is much easier to use than other just like rules. You can get like a luthier's rule, a ruler from StewMac, they're like 50 bucks. This is like sub $20, and I think this is the best product. Now, StewMac also sells one of these, but the Music Nomad one is better. I've said that in a few different videos because it has a dark versus light gauge. Like the text on here that's embossed onto this gauge is easy to see when you fit it under a string. So the black background makes it really nicely like pop as it shows up when you're trying to like look at those measurements, because you're getting close and like this is sitting behind strings or sitting next to a pickup. It's just really easy to use. I highly recommend it, and it's cheap. Okay, now this is not cheap. It's your first foray into a little more expense as far as measurement tools go, but these are $74. This is a pair of digital calipers. Now this tool will help you measure things. These little teeth here spread apart, and it lets you measure all the distances and gaps and of the variety of things you're going to need to measure on a guitar. This is the most accurate tool I've used. It is very easy to use, and it can measure like fret height here on the bottom, and you have like you can grab the size of a nut or string spacing. I use this tool all the time. It is invaluable. I highly recommend and suggest that you pick one up because it is so accurate and so easy to use. Using a ruler and measuring things, sometimes you're measuring things within like thousandths of an inch. This is the tool that's going to do it for you. So it's way better than eyeballing it, and especially if you're moving things around, this is the tool to do it. So continuing on with our measuring tools, you definitely want a neck relief gauge if you can get one. Again, these are not cheap. This is $167, but I'm surprised at how much it costs because it is just a gauge on a flat piece of metal here, but StewMac wants $167 for it. It is really steep. Now, you can use feeler gauges, and feeler gauges work. I find them a little tedious and not as easy to use as this. This is just, you set it on there and it sits between the first fret, and I want to say it sits somewhere on like 8th or 9th fret, well, maybe a little farther, but this little piston here sits somewhere in the middle of your fretboard on top of a fret, and it can give you the relief of your guitar. This is so much easier to use than feeler gauges. I feel like when I use feeler gauges, I'm like, I'm not sure, does it really fit? Is it easily sliding in between the fret and the string when you're measuring the neck relief? This is the tool to do it. You definitely want to be able to measure your neck relief accurately. And I like to set up my guitars either flat or about 6/1000ths of an inch of relief. I'll do whatever the guitar will let me do. Flatter the better, but sometimes you do need a little bit of space because getting a neck made of wood and frets to be even and level and not twisted, and there's such subtle differences on every single guitar that this just makes it way more easier. So, all right, let's keep going. Okay, next up is this nut action gauge from StewMac. It is $147. It is not cheap, but man, is it good. It is so much easier than using feeler gauges, and especially when you're trying to check the depth of the nut slot. So you're gonna be filing your nuts to make sure they're a little bit lower to the first fret, and this will help you get there. Now, why is it so good? Well, especially when you're learning and you're a new guitarist and you wanna set up someone who's like just starting playing, when they have a nut slot that's very close to the first fret but not buzzing, it makes it super easy, especially when you're learning bar chords, that first like F major bar chord that you're learning on your guitar in your first position. The higher the strings are off that first fret, the harder it is to really get that sound that you want and not buzz. And it's, it takes a lot of finger strength and dexterity to really get that feel. And for a new guitar player, this helps all that come to fruition. So very, very cool tool. You can use feeler gauges. Again, feeler gauges are like $20. It's more tedious. This is very quick. It's also more accurate, at least in my experience, because I am not like a feeler gauge god. I cannot always like feel like I'm really getting exactly what I want on a nut slot with those feeler gauges. So it's a little tougher. Anyway, let's keep going. A string winder. This thing is so good. You're definitely going to want a string winder because, man, after doing setup after setup after setup and like changing strings, this thing just saves you so much time, and it saves wrist pain because I get tired of turning peg heads over and over again. This is like, again, around like less than like 20 bucks, and it's just fantastic. It just makes your life so much easier. It also has a little hex there, so you can get into certain spots. There's like the nut on top of a peg head. It's not that deep, so it doesn't always, you're not buying this as a selling point. This is the part you want because it helps, turn that peg head. It's just gonna save you a lot of time. You'll really enjoy it. So highly recommend these, very good. Okay, nut files. Now, you can buy the very expensive StewMac ones. They're good. These are much easier to use. That has been my experience, and I've used both. I have both. These have teeth on the edge of the file, not just the bottom, so you can kind of widen the slot to the correct width as you come down. I've noticed on some of the StewMac files where they only have teeth on the bottom that if I'm not like super careful and I'm not wiggling the file as I file it down, sometimes the strings will catch in the nut. Like the nut will just, depending how you file and like where the string is sitting, it has to be really nicely seated, and these just do the job. These are actually, even though it looks like just a file, it's actually rounded, so it's the shape of a string, whereas the flat files that you get from StewMac, it's just a flat edge. So obviously a round string is sitting in a flat, like 90-degree angle on both sides. It doesn't really do it very well sometimes. So those are a pain in the butt to use. They're also more expensive. This full set is $259, but if you get like let's say you get one set of files from StewMac, like for an electric guitar, for example. Granted, it's less than this, but you're paying close to $100 at that point, a little over that actually. But this set will do all guitars, it'll do bass guitars, it'll do acoustic guitars. If you can shell out the money for this, it is expensive. Like I said, it's $259. It is well worth it. This is a great set of tools here. One caveat I should mention, comes with this cool brush. So when you file your nuts, you're definitely gonna wanna brush it out because even the little residue in the nut will increase the height of the string as you measure it. So make sure you always brush it out. If you don't have one, you can just buy a toothbrush, that works too. Okay guys, moving on, we've got some guitar cleaner. I like this stuff. I like most of the stuff. So this is the new Music Nomad Guitar Detailer. This cleaner is universal. It can work on all finishes, and that is really cool, but I don't like the way it smells. So if you're sensitive to smell, and it looks, when you apply it to like a paper towel or whatever, it looks like pee. It's like a really dark, like, I don't know. It's a weird yellow. It looks like urine. So anyway, it's safe and you can use it, but I don't love it. The nice thing is it can be used on everything, which is super cool. But again, don't love the way it smells. So a better product in my experience is this Dunlop stuff. I really like the Dunlop 65. This is the guitar cleaner and polish. This is the cleaner and prep for the fingerboard. You can get the full set. This isn't even the full set. And the full set is like 30 bucks. The other one I just showed you is I bought the big bottle. I can't remember. It's like around $20. This full set is really where it's at. You get the fingerboard cleaner, the like lotion to clean to treat the fretboard wood afterward. It has cleaner for both different types of finishes. I'm only showing you two, but these are really good products and they smell nice too. So big fan of those. One thing I will say, I do use a different fingerboard like oil to treat the fingerboard after it's all clean. I like this Duesenberg product the most. It smells like rosemary. It's awesome. It works super well. And it's like $8. And this is the best one I found. It just is so good. I will always use this because it's just awesome and it doesn't smell like crap. And when you hand someone a guitar and the first thing they have is a pleasant smell, they will not knowingly appreciate that, but it will make them think more highly of the work you've done to their guitar. So this is a very good foot forward, especially when you're doing setups for other people. So very cool. So we've already talked about this relief gauge, but once you've got your relief dialed in and you know the proper relief on your neck, is it flat? Does it have a little bit of relief? Well, you're gonna wanna work on those frets, right? So this is an invaluable tool to do that. This is the StewMac fret end dressing file. It's less than 20 bucks, or right at 20 bucks, I wanna say. It is phenomenal. Like this thing has a rounded edge on one edge, so when you're filing the edges of your frets to round them over. So, you know, everyone hates sharp fret ends. It can make a guitar unplayable if they're really bad. This tool protects you from destroying your fretboard, and it takes a little bit of use. The first time you use it, you might dig into the fretboard a little bit and you might scar it, but it's not the end of the world. It's just a cosmetic thing, but this has a safety edge, and once you learn how to use it, it's very easy to use, and you can round over those frets. It's just the best tool that I've had in my experience. So it's very tiny, and it's got one flat edge on one side and one rounded edge, and then the teeth are on the sides. So yeah, very cool tool. Highly recommend it if you're doing fret edges. This is the tool to use. Okay, a fret rocker and a fret kisser. So this will help you rock your frets, right? This is like 20-ish bucks. This is like $100. But this tool checks to make sure your frets are level. If not, you can reseat them with a fret hammer. You just need a brass-ended hammer so you don't destroy your frets as you hit them and misshapen them. And then if you do have a fret that needs work, I don't want to get into leveling beams and stuff because I feel like that's outside of a setup, but a fret kisser, if there's just a few frets that are not perfectly even, this will not get them perfectly flat. It will not do it. So don't think that it will, but it'll get very close. So the only way I've found to fully level a fretboard is with a leveling beam and sandpaper. But in a pinch, if you're not trying to make it absolutely 100% perfect and they're not paying you to do a fret level job, this will at least fix a fret so you don't have buzzing issues and you'll have a decent action on your guitar. So fret kisser, it's $100. It's not cheap, but it's a great tool. Highly recommend it if you just, are trying to spot level a few frets when you have those uneven frets on the fretboard. Okay, this is the crowning file you will use after you've done some fret leveling. So if you've used that fret kisser and you've leveled off some of those frets, you need to recrown it, bring it up to a nice rounded edge, nice almost like a point, but not quite a point. This is the tool to do it. It's $100. However, Music Nomad makes a much cheaper one. It's their Z crowning file, and it also probably fits better in the hand. This is not comfortable to use when you're crowning frets. It is very tiny, and if you have big hands, even if you have smaller hands, there's a lot of repetitive motion. It's a little hard on the wrist and the fingers to grip. At least it does have this rubber thing that fits around. It's almost like a rubber band, but it's really tight here. It's not going to move, but it, while good, is expensive and you do need one, but I could be convinced to use the Music Nomad one. I haven't because this just works and I'm not that upset by it, but for $100, you'll need something like this. So next thing to think about. However, there is a better option. I'll show you that here in a minute. So this Fretilizer kit is really cool because it will help crown and polish your frets at the same time. So if you haven't seen the Fretilizer tool, it is a little like handheld tool that looks like this. And so there's an edge here, and it's like an indentation where the fret, it sits on top of the fret, and you put a piece of sandpaper over it, and it'll let you crown and also polish the fret at the same time. So it is much easier to use. It's $35, and I actually prefer it to the StewMac product because you're doing 2-in-1. Now this will take a little more time because that one will really like dig into the fret, and it's got diamond, you know, the StewMac one has diamond teeth, it's very fast. This will take a lot of time, but you use very like low grit sandpaper, and you can kind of just get in there and go for it, and it will definitely do the trick. So if you want to crown and polish your frets, this tool is very nice. It's also very cheap. So the other option, if you want to be a little more budget friendly, are these 3M polishing pads. If you want to just polish your frets, this is not going to crown them, but it'll at least polish them. This is like $20. It's like 20 or 25 bucks, maybe even a little less, I don't know. It's somewhere between $15 and $25. But these pads are great, but they require more elbow grease. The Fretilizer kit I just showed you, much easier, but in a pinch, these budget pads are very easy. I would say they're easy to use, but they're not as easy as that Fretilizer kit. So, you know, might be an option for you if you just want to save a little money. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. And I really appreciate it. Those are the tools I use, and all said and done, that is $1,000 worth of tools, and that is really expensive. So rather unfortunate just for doing setups that you may get like 80 to 100 bucks. So to pay for all that, you're gonna have to do at least 10, 12 setups maybe, depending on what you're doing and how good you are at doing those things. But it is a worthwhile investment if you like working on guitars. I know I do. And of course, there's other budget options. Like for example, if I didn't buy the nut action gauge or the relief gauge, those two tools alone are like 300 bucks. So you can definitely get by with like feeler gauges, micro mesh pads, some of those other budget options I showed you. But ultimately, if you really want to do a good setup and you really want to make it the best you can, it's really not the tools that I showed you, but sometimes it's more so the amount of time it's going to take, right? So using a feeler gauge is a little more time consuming. Using micro mesh pads is a little more time consuming, depending on some of those other tools that really kind of like do it for you. So with that, thanks guys for joining. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again in the next one.